Hello, hello. So I want to talk about something really quickly, and it's this clear deletion of so-called black women that's happening in the United States of America. Uh-oh, hold on a second. What I do? Oh, okay. This clear deletion of so-called black women that's happening in the United States of America. Uh, and it almost seems as if she's probably hated everywhere she goes. Um, but I want to talk about specifically. I just want to stick with United States of America. Uh, Yesterday I had a bag to come up missing. And it's funny because they took my bag and they didn't take my cell phone, they didn't take my tablet, they didn't take anything. And my bag didn't have any money in it. So thank goodness they didn't take anything really important that my heart was hurting. Like somebody takes something important, like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do now? It wasn't nothing like that. I'm so glad that this person I didn't lose a license, I didn't lose any keys, I didn't lose any money, I didn't lose anything that's important. I had one little small check that somebody sent to me, and I asked them to cancel that check, and they could send me another one in the mail. So I literally have not lost anything that was really too valuable in that little bag. But to some people, it looked like it could have been money, so they take the money. But the thing about it is, I'm kind of glad they were able to see my tablet and cell phone, and for some reason decided to leave that there. I'm glad, so I don't have to go through the stress. So I'm not going to call them stupid. I'm not going to call them stupid because I'm glad I don't have to deal with the stress. But I was like, am I going to find it? And Spirit told me, yeah, you're going to find it. And so I just had my eyes closed, thinking about what could have happened. Because it's so weird that it just come up missing. Um, and I see an image of a so-called black woman. It looked like she had some kind of braids in her hair. And the front of her hair was like, kind of cornrowed back, but it was like loose braids. But at the front, it was cornrowed. You know what I mean? Uh, and I saw that. I saw a vision of a so-called black woman, young-looking black woman, like she could be in her 20s or 30s. And there have been some so-called black people that have moved in the area that I am in. Now, what I want to talk about, I don't want to bite my tongue on why I feel like ultimately most of the so-called black women, as we see in the United States of America, most of them are probably going to go on and be deleted. I was looking at somebody's video when she was talking about how she was trying to get rid of this Jezebel spirit. It was a brown lady, so-called black woman, talking about the Jezebel spirit, and she wanted to just get rid of the Jezebel spirit. And as she was praying to get rid of the Jezebel spirit, I think she said she was in a dream and she saw a whole bunch of other so-called black women surrounding her in a circle, and they were all praying together to get rid of this Jezebel spirit. Now, not every so-called black women in the United States of America have that spirit on them, but most so-called black women have that Jezebel spirit on them very, very heavy. And that's an evil spirit, because that Jezebel spirit it hates other women. Sometimes I feel like that Jezebel spirit hates other women more than it hates men, because that's a succubus type of spirit. But the way she described it, I guess she might have dealt with it. She felt like that spirit makes women hate men. Like, no, what's making a lot of women hate men is the way they're being treated in this world. Have you seen, like, I get what she's talking about, the Jezebel spirit, because if she feel like she had that spirit on her and that's how she was feeling, then I can't argue with that, because I done had a lot of things going on. I haven't dealt with the Jezebel spirit, but I've dealt with attacks from the Jezebel spirit. That's why I can disagree that spirit is not just having you hate men. I feel like it really have you hate women more than anything, and it makes so-called black women seem like it makes them hate each other more than anything. Because truth be told, a lot of so-called black women can't get along with each other. Oh goodness, yeah, I forgot the term. A lot of so-called black women can't get along with each other I feel like it's because of that spirit. A lot of the attacks that have come towards my way, besides dealing with my family, anything other than that, a lot of attacks that have come towards my way have been from a lot of black women. Okay, could even be in my family. But I want to talk about this clear hunt to just completely delete so-called black women. I feel like a lot of black women need to repent. That's going to be hard to hear. I feel like a lot of black women need to repent. That's what I feel. That's what I feel needs to happen. But a lot of so-called black women feel like they don't do anything wrong. When I know other people do this thing too, but here I'm gonna be honest with you. I looked into it, and black women, so-called black women, have that Jezebel spirit on them, the heaviest, more than anybody else in the United States. I'm just sticking. I'm not talking about around the world. They have that spirit on them, the heaviest. I realized there's other entities that's on people of different ethnicities, but that Jezebel spirit seems to be on black women tough. It's really on them real tough. And it kind of makes, so a lot of so-called black women, it almost makes them unbearable. It really almost makes a lot of so-called black women just unbearable. Just unbearable. But it's almost like, I'm gonna tell you something. It's almost like the higher power. And I hate to be like this, because it's not me thinking this. It's almost like the Most High and even the Great Mother. The Most High of this realm, is more of a masculine type of father. But then of the highest is the mother. And there's a lot of black women that refuse to acknowledge that. And I'm just going to say I get the feeling, even though it's already been clear, that the Great Mother kind of don't want to be bothered with that she's kind of done with black women. Black women just refuse to turn back from their ways. They were the ones that were actually in control of everything. It's like like in the Bible, you see the story of Genesis, how first Adam was created, then Eve, and say, be fruitful and multiply. I feel like that was what the command was for a lot of so-called black women. And a lot of black women chose to give their power away to the male, to their son. Now, if it's not that you can't repent from that. You can repent. The problem is that a lot of black women refuse to repent. They refuse to repent, and we can see right now on media that they worship the penis more than any other woman, probably on the planet, but I'm just going to say United States of America. They worship penis the most. And when I'm talking about worship penis, I'm not saying that they have sex with the most men. I don't mean like that. I mean that they are literally, they worship the male more than any other woman. They worship the male. And then they worship somebody who don't do anything for them. That's the thing. It'll be different if they provide a lifestyle that is so great that you can't turn them loose. I get that. But literally, there has been nothing, it's been nothing in it for the so-called black women. Like, she has not benefited. She's not benefited. It's only dug her deeper into a hole, into a financial hole, into a spiritual hole. It's only dug her deeper into a hole where she tolerates. And she just still refuses to admit that she is wrong and repent. All she got to do is repent. It's not because, I get the fact that a lot of they turned their backs on their own divinity, but that's not what's deleting them. What's deleting them is what's causing them to be deleted is their refusal to repent. Refusal to repent. Well, I feel like what happened on YouTube, because there was always a bashing of black women by a lot of rappers in in music and stuff like that, you already saw the tearing down of the feminine energy in a lot of hip hop and rap music, right? But nobody, you didn't really get it, right? Nobody really got it. I mean, Dolores Cannon, what's her name? C. Dolores Tucker got it. She got it, okay? But a lot of people just didn't get it, especially of the Generation X and the millennial generations. They didn't get it because they weren't born. They were born into that type of disrespectful music. I was already born into that disrespectful music, right? I mean, I was born in the '70s. So I had some parts of listening to some decent type of music too. For the most part, I was born into that misogynistic type of music. Even when they were conscious, even when rap was conscious, it was still very misogynistic. Okay, and honestly, that is something Lennon Honor pointed out when the NWA came out with that movie called Straight Outta Compton. Well, that movie called Straight Outta Compton was came to the movies. And before it came to the movies, Lennon Honor was doing a documentary about how what rap music has done to the community. And he was really focused on, it was because of that movie NWA coming out, that movie by NWA coming out called Straight Outta Compton. And he was the one that said, even back in the day when rap music was supposedly be conscious, it was still very, very misogynistic. He's the one that pointed that out, because I didn't even really pay attention to that, but he's the one that even pointed that out. But so I can see how you can overlook when you're born into that stuff. It's like, okay, all right, you really kind of don't know any better. And there were people from older generations. One I know that was a main one, C. Dolores Tucker. She was the one that got the most attention. Now, it could have been other so-called black women that wanted to intervene, but they didn't have a big enough platform. They weren't seen enough. Like, say, somebody like me that try to do what I can to change something. Well, nobody will really know about me because my platform is tiny, so it'll look like I'm not even doing anything to the people who are looking for somebody with a big platform. But C. Dolores Tucker is the one that had a lot of media attention. And she was the one that wanted to really stop the abusive lyrics in rap music. And of course, women and men, specifically of Generation X, went against her. Specifically of Generation X, they went against her. So, okay, but you're born into that music, so you don't know that it can be better. I guess you don't know that it could be better. But here's the thing. Once you know better, it's kind of like you do have to do better. Once you learn that it was messed up, you have to do better. Now, I feel like this thing with YouTube, when was YouTube started? In 2006? In 2006, that's when Sergeant Willie P got online and he was bashing black women all the time. And then I believe, I wasn't looking at YouTube around that time. I haven't even heard of YouTube around that time, but that is the history that I heard when I used to listen to other women, other so-called black women on YouTube, who were part of that, was that BWE, the main players of the BWE during that time in like 2015, 2016. I was listening to them and they was giving a history of Sergeant Willie P and Tommy Sotomayor coming around in 2007. And he was the strongest around that time until Kevin Samuels came around, okay? Then Kevin Samuels kind of like made him disappear, okay? And so a lot of so-called black women, many so-called black women all over the United States had a chance to see. It's like black men expose themselves. If they didn't expose themselves enough through music, and I don't mean to make this about a gender, I'm not trying to, well, I can't start a gender war. I can't start something that's already started eons ago. The gender war between black women and black men started eons ago. I can't start something that's never ended. It's always been going. But that was supposed to make it clear. When they went online talking trash and dogging you out, and you get all these YouTube pages from these men constantly dogging out so-called black women, that should have made it clear how they felt about black women. That should have made it clear. It's like they exposed themselves. And I was like, I'm not going to make video. I know a lot of so-called black women make video after video after video, wanting to expose black men and wanting to tell black women to leave black men alone. But here's the thing. They expose themselves so much to the point you can't make enough videos to expose black men the way that black men have exposed themselves. They literally will say out their mouth they hate black women. They literally will say out their mouth they hope the cops come and gun down black women. I remember around the time when Alton Sterling and Philando Castile was gunned down, and there was a lot of black men that was hoping that this could turn around and just going to happen, start happening to black women. And black women knew about it. And it's just like, it's nothing you can do. It's not enough videos you can make to get her to stop. And it's really, the point is to get her to repent. I'm not the one to tell her to leave black men alone. That's not the point. Is she needs to repent. She needs to repent of her ways. So it's not enough to tell her to leave black men alone, because you can leave black men alone, but you still don't repent, because a lot of so-called black women have this habit of worshiping men. If it's not going to be a black man, it's going to be a white man, it's going to be an Arab man, it's going to be what you call an African, because all African men don't necessarily call themselves black men. So black men specifically in the United States of America, because it's a lot of African men that do not call themselves black men. So they worship the male, period. So it's not enough to just say leave black men alone if they have this habit of worshiping the male. They need to repent and turn back to remember who they were. But yeah, and but when we saw all of that on YouTube, we clearly saw, it made me see who black women really were. I saw the truth about black women when all these guys got on YouTube and dogged out black women to no end. And with the few women that you would have online that would try to counteract so much of the bashing of so-called black women, the few women that were online, they would get badly attacked, and they would get doxxed and all kinds of stuff. They would be just severely attacked by other so-called black women. You would have other black women, so-called black women, that would attack the few black women that were online trying to counteract all of the bashing towards black women that came from black men. And that made it clear to me how most black women were. It made it clear to me how they really were. And it's almost like, I almost want to say it's their fault. The reason why these guys are the way they are and why they continue to feel like they get away with it is because black women have created a safe space for these guys to continue to mistreat them. Now, I'm not going to make excuses for them, because I'm not going to make excuse for nobody else's behavior. But one thing about it, let's just be honest. They can choose if they want to continue to give birth to black men. There had been a woman that I saw first on YouTube, I think when she came out in 2015, 2016. Well, her name was Kendall St. Charles. And her post was called Stop It. Stop It. And she was telling black women to stop giving birth to black men. Not necessarily because she just don't want them to exist anymore. It's because this need to be cleaned up. They need to earn the right to come through a portal to come into this world. They need to earn the right to do that. And they're not earning the right to come through a portal to come into this world to have a chance again, or however you do it. I honestly think this might be a trap. I've come to the conclusion that I think this whole thing is a trap. But I get what the point of what she was saying is, like, no, they have been very, very disrespectful. And at this point, it's best to stop birthing them right now until things get figured out. And then after that, it's been two or three other so-called black women online that's going on YouTube to say, stop giving birth to them, stop giving birth to them. But when I heard Kendall St. Charles say it, or even when I heard Cynthia G say it after Kendall St. Charles said it, I don't know if she got it from Kendall St. Charles. I don't know who Cynthia G listens to. But even when she said it, it wasn't because she wanted black men gone for good. I honestly feel like Cynthia G still cares about black men. That's how I feel about her. No matter how venomous she sounded on her YouTube page, I honestly feel like she cared about black men still. But even with her, she was saying to stop giving birth to them because things are out of control. And you got to stop giving birth to them because they're not learning their lesson. They feel like they can do whatever they want to do because black women have created a safe space to say, listen, you can abuse us all you want to. You can abuse whoever you want. You can kill, you can unalive as many people you want in the neighborhoods because it's all the white man's fault for bringing the guns in the neighborhood in the first place, right? You can sell as many drugs in the neighborhood as you want to because it's all the white man's fault for bringing those drugs in there in the first place. Uh, you can rape and kill and pillage and you can do all that all you want to because it's white supremacy fault that you had a hard time finding a job, and it's white supremacy fault that you know that's downright evil. And I said that's evil. And so that's why I say so-called black women have created the safe space for black men. The reason why black women are going to be blamed and take a large hit of what black men have done is because they had a chance for their eyes to be completely open when YouTube came out with Sergeant Willie Pete and Tommy Sotomayor and then Kevin Samuels. And it got to a point where you couldn't get around knowing how black men felt about black women because other people all over the world talked about it. Other people all over the world talked about it. And what I can't stand to see is when you have a so-called black man or another so-called black woman that want to call themselves pro-black and get mad at me with my little tiny page that don't get no more than about 150 views at the most. And you think I'm the one messing up the black community? You don't think Kevin Samuels has something to do with that? You don't think Tommy Sotomayor has something to do with that? Like Tommy Sotomayor was not endorsed. What you call it? What you call it when people have these products on their channel, and it's because of the people that own the products, they pay them. KFC was backing up Tommy Sotomayor. That was one of the companies that was backing up Tommy Sotomayor to do what he was doing. He was paid to tear down black women. And he said it was because I saw him come in somebody else's chat say it was his job to tear down black women. That was his job, and he wasn't trying to be funny. He literally got paid. That was his job. So, but then it's around, but it's the white man that put him up to it and paying him. It's the white man that's paying him. So what I noticed with a lot of black women still is they cannot let him take responsibility. And because a lot of black women could not let him take responsibility. Because the truth be told, you control for the most part who comes to your womb, unless you're in an area, a country where you're getting raped and then you're forced to give birth to the child after you got raped. That's when you don't have any control. But in the United States of America, a lot of so-called black women had control over their womb, and they witnessed how disrespectful black men were, and they were already told and warned, stop giving birth to them because this is not right. The way they are coming out is not right. They are coming up in the United States of America. The influences around black men are crazy. Now, if somebody gave birth to a black son, like a black male, like he's 20 years old, that's different. He's 15 or even 10 years old, that's different now. But I'm talking about as of now, to see the ridiculous disrespect that comes from black men, and to want to even birth a male child under this climate and think that he has a dying chance, and he just might, but it's going to be like the probability is going to be very, very low. The probability would be low. Okay. And like I said, I've seen black men who have been very disrespectful towards black women, and they've had great parents. They've had two parents in their household. And I know having two parents in a household doesn't mean he came from a perfect family. But a lot of white men and Arab men and Chinese men, they don't come from perfect families either. A lot of people do not come from perfect families. There's a lot of people who have two-parent families that do not come from perfect families. I had a two-parent family and they were not perfect. But that's not the excuse. I get that they come from two-parent families, but they still weren't perfect. But that's not a reason for them to act the way they act. They act the way they act because of the doggone climate. Bottom line. And so I feel like a lot of so-called black women refuse to take heed on slowing down with their birth rates. Well, I don't know if their birth rate has slowed down. If it did slow down, I don't know if it's because they have chosen to just be abstinent and not really have, or if it's because of, for some other reason that they can't control, you know. But at this point, I think they're being taken out because it's almost like an agreement, even though they didn't say it out their mouths, by them having this loyalty to black men no matter what black men do. I'm not saying if you got a husband that treats you right, that happen to be a so-called black male, I'm not saying like turn your back on him. I'm not saying turn your back on your family. I'm not saying turn your back on your brother or your father or even a good friend that you have that happen to be a black male that treats you right. I'm not saying that. If they're treating you right, why turn your back on them if they're treating you right? But for the most part, black men have been very hateful towards and abusive towards black women. But you still have a lot of black women to this day that would tell you not to go anywhere else and only deal with black men and don't go anywhere else. You know. Um, but and I feel like for that reason that a lot of black women are going to get deleted and probably get deleted in the place of black men because ever since Black Lives Matter, they have chosen to take the bullet that the black man was supposed to get. Black women have chosen to take the bullet that was meant for black men. They chose to do it because everything should have changed when their eyes was open and the whole world's eyes was open to the hatred that a lot of black men in the United States of America have for black women. Everybody's eyes around the world was open to the fact that a lot of black men in the United States of America literally hate black women. And all they had to do was like, listen, we got to get this right. Let's stop giving birth to so many children right now, and let's stop, birthing them into this world until we figure out how we're going to make sure they have a stable family, a decent upbringing, at least have some kind of a blueprint, at least have some kind of a plan. But a lot of so-called black women want to keep giving birth to children without a plan, you know. But anyway, but for the most part, I feel like she's being deleted because they just refuse to repent. They refuse to turn from their ways. They refuse to turn from their wicked ways. And a lot of black women are wicked. I feel like they're really, really being deleted, not because they're clearly, most of them have the Jezebel spirit on them, the heaviest out of all the women. But I believe it's because, and this is just me, I believe it's because they're taking the bullet that a lot of black men were supposed to get. They're taking it. I'm not going to say I believe. I know a lot of black women are being deleted because they have taken the karma that was meant for the black man. They have taken it, and I've already seen it. I've seen it where the black woman was at the bottom, and then I saw this the black man at the top, like a image of a black man at the top, and I saw the word rise, like RISE, like he is rising up, because she agreed to take on his karma because the black woman is just that loyal to the black man, and that she agreed to take on this karma without saying it out her mouth. She agreed to take on this karma, and black women are just going to be deleted in the droves. And what you got to do is repent. It don't have to be that way. I want to say it clear, make it clear. It does not have to be that way. But black women refuse to admit that they're ever wrong. They refuse to repent. They have such a haughty, and I'm just going to be honest. You got to see the way it is. A lot of black women have such a haughty type of spirit that you can't get through to them because they're going to argue you all the way down. They're going to read you down. They're going to tear you down. You cannot say anything. And it's almost like admitting that they're wrong about anything is a sign of weakness to them. Okay? But when you get to the point where you have when the Most High don't hardly want to deal with you, you're doing pretty bad. Like the so-called black women ain't looking too good in the great mother's eyes, and the masculine God. There's a loving masculine God too that's not in this realm. I don't know if that loving masculine God is in this realm. It might be. Well, not in this so-called realm right here, but I'm saying But I believe so. I do believe in a loving type of masculine God. I do believe in that. But the ones that we have been exposed to have not been loving. Um, but I believe even that God is like almost just like done, like you refuse. But then I don't know how that God is going to feel about a lot of so-called black men too, because a lot of black men, used. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. A lot of black men use witchcraft. How is that God gonna feel about that? Well, I already know how the great mother gonna feel. The great mother's not accepting them back. So the only choice. I'm gonna tell you something. The only choice a lot of black men have is this masculine God because that great mother ain't taking them. They're like the great mother's not taking. Is no. Like no. But I've already seen in the astral what a lot of black men have done to cause themselves to rise up and for the black woman to be underneath and take the karma that was supposed to be meant for them. It's a lot of witchcraft. A lot of witchcraft. Because I've seen it. But also, the black women have also decided to be loyal to him no matter what, to march for him no matter what, do whatever, even though he would never defend her the way she defends him. They're going to do it anyway. And when anybody try to tell them different, they're going to argue with them. They're going to argue. And not only do they argue and say, I do what I want to do, they're going to get in your face and tell you that you need to do this stuff too. Like you need to commit suicide too. When that stuff with George Floyd supposedly happened in 2020, I did say supposedly, when that stuff happened with George Floyd in 2020, I was doing videos around that time too about how it didn't add up. Something wasn't right. I was looking him up online. I was looking up for his records and I didn't see it at the time I was looking for it. And then turned to find out that the real George Floyd had already passed away some time ago. And his sister was right there at the hospital bed. And I believe it was either his lawyer or the real George Floyd's lawyer or doctor that was also in the hospital when that real George Floyd passed away. And I heard that he actually made a post on Facebook, and Facebook removed the post of the person that was saying that the real George Floyd had really passed away already some time ago before that. And that whole thing was a lie. But it was a lot of black women at that time that you could not explain that to. You could not have explained that to them. But even with that, I had women in my comments telling me that there were a lot of black women trying to force them to go out into the streets to march, and there were a lot of black women trying to get their little girls to go out in the street, and not their sons, trying to get their little girls to go out into the streets and march for George Floyd. Nobody trying to get their sons to do it though. Okay, so that's all I gotta say is that a lot of black women have already agreed to and I read a comment under my latest video, one of my latest videos, saying that this person reminds her of Sandra Bland. I still have yet to look at Sonya Massey. Said it kind of reminds her of Sandra Bland. I want to say something about Sandra Bland. Sandra Bland is another person that pretty much agreed to the karma that was meant for black men, because she died wanting to defend black men every day. If I looked on her page, on her YouTube page around the time she died, and she was very, very pro-black, but she was defending black men a lot. So Sandra Bland chose to be a martyr for black men to rise. I don't know if she knew that, but just because you don't consciously know that's what you're doing doesn't mean it's not going to have a consequence. Just because you might not be consciously aware of what you're doing does not mean that there won't be a consequence behind it. And so Sandra Bland is another one of those people that agreed to take black men's karma. Yes, she did. Now a lot of us have been like that too. I don't have to be a lot of us don't have to be pro-black and all that stuff and popping our fists and fighting for black men to have taken on black men's karma. Because why? Because we're connected to other so-called black women. And that's why I've said a lot of times, It's at this time in the United States of America, especially the black women, the so-called black women as you see her in the United States of America, it's time to disconnect from them. They have made it clear they refuse to repent. They have made it clear that they refuse to even admit they've done anything wrong. They refuse, they refuse, they refuse. And your best bet to get out of the hell, the soul trap, the best way to get the heck on out of this is to just literally disconnect from anybody that is not, what can I say? What's the best way to say it? Disconnect from people who are just, you can see clearly they are not going to evolve. Like, it's clear that they're not going to evolve. There's a really disconnect from them, period. Right? But anyway, with that said, I'll talk later.